What's good, YouTube? I'm Beaty.Money back here. I know I haven't given you guys much FaceTime recently. I've been putting up a lot of beats, and I just wanted to get into a rhythm of putting up music consistently over the course of my first year, which is coming up, and I'll be doing a vlog about that maybe in a week or two, about my first year uploading to BeatStars, how much money I made, and all that stuff. But today I'm launching a series about music theory, and I want to teach y'all basic music theory, you know. I know there's a lot of younger producers or maybe older producers who don't know any music theory. Maybe you guys are more on the sampling side and you take loops and you chop them up, which is an awesome skill. It's an awesome thing. But I think that knowing a little bit of music never hurts. And I'd like to teach you guys a little bit of music theory. So without further ado, here's Music Theory for Producers, Volume 1. We're going to talk about clefs, major scales, and chromatic scales. All right, so sit tight and let's start. So first thing first, clefs. I know some of you guys probably don't know how to read music at all, so I just want to give you guys some basic tips on reading music. All right, so first things first, we're going to talk about the G clef and the bass clef. All right, here's the G clef, or treble clef as we call it. And you'll notice I circle the G line. That's why it's called the G clef, okay? And now we're going to put the bass clef down. Bass clef goes here. All right, you'll notice those two little dots, that is where the F lies, all right? Now, most of you guys, if you're playing anything on a MIDI controller, when you set the MIDI controller to 0, it's gonna put the middle C usually in the middle of the piano, right? So here's middle C. That's the note in the middle of the piano. Now, where does middle C fall within the staff? It falls one ledger line below the treble clef. Now, ledger lines is when we have to add lines below and above the staff, all right? The staff being these 5 lines. So middle C is going to be right here, right? Now, middle C for the bass clef, that same note, that same sound is going to be one ledger line above the bass clef, okay? Boom. There we go, clefs. The G clef, aka the treble clef, and the bass clef. Now we're going to talk about chromatic scales, right? So we're going to do the chromatic scale. We're going to go up with sharps and we're going to come down with flats. But as we go up the first time, I'm going to tell you guys the notes that are the same. So first note, C. We see it. We're going to go up to C sharp, which is also called D flat, same note, but we're not going to write that here. We're going to go up to D. And then after D, we're going to go up to D sharp, or E flat. Then from D sharp or E flat, we go up to E concert. Then from E, or E natural, we go from E to F. Then after F, we have another note that is very similar, that has 2 names, and the 2 names are F sharp and G flat. But we're here, we're gonna write F sharp, okay? Then after that, we're gonna go up to G natural. Then from there we have another note that is G sharp or A flat. But here, of course, going up with sharps. Then from G sharp A flat, we'll go up to A natural. Then after that, we have another note, which is going to be A sharp or B flat. But in this purpose, in the context, we're gonna have A sharp, right? And finally, we have B natural, and it brings us right back up to C. So again, the notes are C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, and C. And as you can see, we have 12 different notes inside the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And of course the C is the octave, same note, right? So it sounds like this. Middle C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, and then back to C, right? Octaves. Okay, now we're gonna go back down. Okay, so now that we're going down, we're going to start with C up here, right? So we have C, then we have B. Next note, remember last time it was A sharp, now it's B flat going down. And flats look like little B's. Then we have A. Then we have A flat. Or G sharp, like we said before. Then we have G. And then we have G flat. F. Down to E. E flat, right? Or D sharp, as we said before. D. Down to D flat or C sharp. And then we have C. And again, the notes are C, B, B flat, A flat, G, G flat, F, E, E flat, D, D flat, and C. Okay? Sorry, my handwriting is terrible. I know it looks like I had a stroke, but these are the notes in the chromatic scale. Now, this is what it sounds like. Remember we started in middle C before? This time we're gonna start an octave above, at C1. Right? C1. C down to B, B flat, A flat, G, G flat, F, E, E flat, D, D flat, and then C, right? Now that we see the chromatic scale, now it's important to know that this scale is made up entirely of half steps, right? Now, the thing about learning music theories, you're going to start to get into intervals, and we're going to talk more about intervals, especially when I start building chords for y'all. But initially, it's important to understand the concept of half step and whole steps, because half steps and whole steps is really what builds other intervals as well. So the space between this C and B is a half step. Or if we're going back from the bottom, right, C to C sharp or D flat, half step, half step, half step, right? So chromatic scales, this is a half step, right? These are all half steps, all the way down half step. Half step, half step, half step, half step. Or back up. Right, half steps. Everything's half steps. This is very important because now we're going to talk about building the major scale. Now we're going to talk about building the major scale. The major scale has a formula too, just like half steps for the chromatic scale. Everything's half steps. You can build a major scale based off of a series of whole steps and half steps. Now again, if I write C to C sharp, this is a half step. Okay, now if I write C and skip the C sharp and go straight to D, we have a whole step, okay? Because we have a C sharp in between, right? And if I go chromatically, it's a half step and a half step. 2 half steps equal 1 whole step, all right? So the formula for building a major scale, and this is how you can learn all 12 keys easily, is know that it is whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So 2 whole steps followed by half step, then 3 whole steps followed by half step. So it's going to be like this. So we're going to have C. On this one, I'm writing the bass clef. I'm going to write an octave below C, this, the middle C. It's B here. We go up to D. D. This is a whole step. All right? Then from D, we're going to go to E. Another whole step, remember? Then from E to F, half step, half step. Then from F, we go to G, whole step, okay. Then from G, we go to A, whole step. And then from A, we go to B, another whole step. And then from B, we get back to C. To get to B from C, that is a half step. So here we go back to middle C for the bass clef, half step. Now you might be saying to yourself like, oh, whole steps, half steps, this is so much, it's not really that much to process. And a very simple way to do it, it sounds cheesy, but you can, it's simply like this: whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. I know it's super cheesy, but again, it is whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. 2 whole steps, half step, 3 whole steps, 3 whole, and then a half step, right? So this is a C major scale. Now, okay, so we have C to D, whole step, D to E, whole step, E to F, half step, F to G, whole step, right? There's that chromatic note in between. G to A, that's a whole step, right? A to B is a whole step, and then B to C, whole step. So whole step, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step, right? So the major scale has 7 tones, right? This is going to be really important as we build our foundation to learn chords too. Remember, because when I start talking in numbers, I'm going to talk about this again because the next lesson is going to be about chords. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So oftentimes you'll hear people talk about, and these are scale degrees. If we talk about scale degrees, the first scale degree is C, second scale degree D, third scale degree E, fourth scale degree F, fifth scale degree G, sixth scale degree A, seventh scale degree B, and back to the tonic, right? So you're gonna hear people talk about scale degrees, and it's gonna be really important when we start talking about chords and when we start talking about modes and all this stuff, which I plan on teaching all y'all. So this is really foundational stuff: major scale, chromatic scale, half steps, whole steps. Please revisit this. Inside the next lesson, I'm gonna talk about chords and how to stack chords, build chords, just like basic stuff and versions. And then from there we'll talk about modes and different colors, because when I make beats and I make melodies, for example, if I'm making loops for the digital crate or something like that, I sit down and I'm thinking oftentimes in terms of a mode, or I'm thinking in terms of like chord changes. And when you start talking about 2-5-1s, 4-6, 2-5, 3-6, 2-5s, any of this stuff, we're talking about scale degrees when people are talking about numbers, right? So that's important to know that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, real quickly before we leave, let's just try this formula on different notes. So this is how you can go alto key. So let's say we're inside of C, but let's say we want to build an F major scale. Whole step from F is G, whole step from G is A, half step from G is B flat, whole step from B flat is C, whole step from C is D, whole step from D is E, half step from E is F, right? Now let's pick a key that maybe people will find more challenging. Let's try D flat. The whole step from D flat is E flat, whole step from E flat is F, half step from F is G flat, whole step from G flat is A flat, whole step from A flat is B flat, a whole step from B flat is C, and then a half step from C is D flat, right? Good. Now let's try another tricky key that some people might think is harder. This is a key of B major. B major, we start off with B. Whole step from B is C sharp. Whole step from C sharp is D sharp. Half step from D sharp is E. Whole step from E is F sharp. Whole step from F sharp is G sharp. A whole step from G sharp is A sharp, and then a half step from A sharp is B, right? So B major scale. Right? So that's how you build major scales. It's really important. I think a lot of Western music, especially popular music, is coming off of the major scale. I know that there's modes of melodic minor and all these types of things, but really learn your major scales, right? Learn major scales. We'll talk more about key signatures and stuff like that, but I think it's important because a lot of you guys in the producer community, we're trying to make melodies and come up with cool chord changes. And if you need simple ways to build out of a key and figure out what notes are in a particular key, this is a good way to do it, using whole steps and half steps. Remember, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. It's cheesy, but you know, it's effective. You won't forget it. All right, so hope everybody got something out of this lesson. Please let me know in the comments below if you want me to continue to do this. I will do one about chords next, about the different types of chords. talk about chord symbols, and we'll talk about inversions, okay? And then from there we'll talk about modes, and then I want to talk about some chord changes. Okay, please subscribe. I want to continue doing this, and hope everybody's doing great. Talk to you guys later. Peace.